When you're in the lists, you're preparing to charge down the other end of this and meet the other guy on the end of his pole and try and meet him on the end of yours. Certain mindset you have to have. Some of the books and sources from 500 years ago, they talk about problems with things like guys flinching and closing their eyes before impact. And if you blink before impact, you're not going to be tracking that tip. And it's very important to track that tip all the way to the point of impact. If you get somebody that blinks right before impact, it is an awful lot of work to get them out of that habit.
And what about that point of impact? Are you leaning forward on that, or what are you trying to turn to deflect that?
Well, it depends on your opponent, because this is a big chess game. It depends on what your opponent's doing, what your opponent's horse is doing. But yes, quite often you're trying to lean into that impact. But also what can happen is sometimes they'll lean into the impact, they'll miss, and then they come off. At which point you want to make sure you tag him on the legal target area, because if he comes off that way, you get points for an unhorsing.
The lance itself, is it braced up inside? Are you thrusting with your arm at all?
You never want to thrust with your arm. You never want to thrust with your arm. You want to crouch that real tight underneath the arm, because what happens is the dinner shows with the balsa wood lances where they do this theatrically, they'll punch with the lance, but that's because they have these breakaway balsa wood tips. Now we're using solid lances, and so the impact's tremendous. And if you try and shoot forward with your hand or with your arm, that impact's going to go into your hand, into your joints in your wrist, possibly in your elbow and your shoulder. So you're going to cause a lot of damage that way.
This broken bone is proof of that.
Well, actually, I was holding on to it quite well. I was trying to keep it braced, and I still had it break. So that just goes to show you want to try and bring as much of that force into your underarm, because it's all about body mechanics, and you're a lot stronger underneath here than you are in all these points that are easily fractured.
And speaking of force, you're on top of horses that weigh upwards of 1,800 pounds. You're wearing about 250 pounds worth of gear.
Yeah, about there.
Running at each other at 30 miles an hour each, all focused down into a square inch or 2 square inches.
About an 1.5 inch tip, and so that becomes a 60 mile an hour impact. So it's like a big car wreck every time you meet.
Okay, thank you very much.